So we are back.
We're here.
We are here again. How you doing, my friend?
Good.
Yeah, good. Me too, man.
Live and in person.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are. Staying busy, huh?
Trying to, as
Yeah.
we all should, I guess.
Yeah, of course, man. Of course. Yeah, me too. Me too. I can't stop finishing projects.
It's good.
Fuck, it's crazy, man.
Well, that's what life seems to be, is a never-ending project. It's like, okay, cool, let's do this. And the next thing you know, it's like, oh,
Yeah.
that needs to be done, or this, yeah.
Yeah, it's for me, it's a lot of being able to hone in and focus on projects, unlike I've been able to do over the past couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
Being medicated, at least for me, is being medicated, which we'll get into a little bit more. It was either not the right medication or too much or whatever it was. It wasn't the right cocktail, and I couldn't focus. I couldn't hone in on things, and so I've had projects that needed dealt with for years now that I just couldn't do. So it's just been every day just checking things off of a sort of a list, if you will. Mm-hmm. Whether it's making one room a guest room instead of a storage room, or whatever it is. Things with barrel. Trying to tighten the reins. It's I just can't say it enough times. Obviously, getting off of the medications for me was critical in being able to move forward. And if you listen to us at all last week, we talked a lot about, it's been a little bit over a month now, I think, maybe a little bit more than that I've been off of meds completely, been weaning off for the past year with the help of my doctor. And, my doctor told me, she said, you're the second person, is what she said, that has done this, that has gone off meds and actually every day is just like, wow, like I'm alive again.
Yeah, and that's what we talked about, like, when I was leaving, is saying, like, she said there's, like, 2 people. Well, how many people are physically and mentally strong enough to weed themselves off of that? Because you have to be in a good place to slowly pull somebody off something that is potentially life-altering in that sense.
Yeah, it causes a lot of people to go off of the deep end, if you will.
And you gotta, and as she did right, you gotta, I'm not a doctor, obviously, but you gotta analyze your people, understand them, see where their psyche's at, their mental health, their physical health, because physically, I've seen changes in you both physically and mentally with all this over the years. Yeah, where you've been, dude, this dude's a beast, and other times
what's going on?
Like a frail old man.
Yeah,
and you're not an old man.
Yeah,
but you got to make that call in that professional position, and I think like what you said, there's probably not too many people that have the headspace, just that full wrap around that. Okay, they're ready to be weaned down.
My therapist said something today. I spoke with him for the first time in a few weeks because I went on vacation and stuff, and so it's been a little while, and we haven't talked much since I've been off meds, and so he was coming into it, sort of wondering, what was going on and whatnot, and it was much of the same with our conversation. Was like, he was so happy. He's like, man, I knew it. He said, our conversations it didn't make sense. He goes, you weren't showing these signs, you weren't doing this, but you were confused and you were upset. He said, so obviously something was going on there where, things are being triggered that shouldn't, or maybe that should, but at wrong times. And just, it seemed like the emphasis was on the wrong syllable, if you will, so it was, the things were there and I knew what was going on. It was just hard to really facilitate and make changes. And so anyway, long story short, and speaking with my therapist today, he said a lot of the same things like what you were just saying. He's like, man, he goes, more people should probably take ownership of what they're doing and what they can do, and stop lying to themselves about what they can and cannot do.
Oh man, well, speaking of the devil, because last week we talked about the book, The 4 Agreements, and it just sparked at me. I'm like, I'm gonna reread this. So
good.
Yesterday, yesterday I picked it back up and I just started diving in. And I told Jeremy I read for probably like an hour yesterday, but that's one of the biggest things is in that first chapter of the book. They talk about the things that we kind of believe, the things that we are in our lives is given to us. So our parents, our grandparents, our upbringing, that's the truth that we think we know and hold true.
Yeah.
And we stay in those realms, even if a truth that we known for 30 or 40 years of our lives seems to become false, a lot of people will still hold true to this.
Yeah.
I'll put it in a sense.
They get married to it,
Yeah.
sort of.
So let's say if tomorrow the Bible was just a story, none of it was true. It was just, there will still be millions, if not billions of people who will continue to believe it no matter if the proof came about.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what we're talking about. So they talk more about that, like you have to have those hard truths with you to see that this perfect image of yourself is not plausible.
Yeah.
To be the real realm of, okay, this is what I see. And like you said, take ownership to, okay, this is going on. Ooh, I blew up here. Or this is internally, like, what can I control to be, as he says in that first, like, couple pages, the light to myself.
Yeah.
You know, what can be seen to be the light to me? And then, okay, can I project this light onto others, my children, grandchildren, friends, family, that maybe they will see some of this, take in this, and that will become some of their truth.
The only way I think that you will ever get other people to change is not, just as you said, it's them. They've got to do it. They have to see that your word is meticulous. Mm-hmm. They have to see that you don't take things personally. When they start seeing these changes in you or in another person, that's when and only when they believe that their truths may not have been the real truth. It may have been something that was handed down. It may have been just a false memory. It could have been a perception. It could have been real.
Yeah.
But at the same time, who gives a shit? Because it was.
Mm-hmm.
It isn't now.
Yeah.
Maybe, right?
Yeah,
Like,
and that's the big thing, is seeing your true truths to what maybe has been ingrained in you, told to you, and seeing it for yourself.
right. So we all have multiple truths, right? And I think that book talks about it. It's like you've got your truth, my truth, then you've got the real truth, which we really may never know, because the way you perceived it and I perceived it could have been two completely different ways than how it actually was provided to us. And by it, anything.
Well, simply, like, he starts off, like I said, it's in the probably second or third page, talking about, like, you know, is kind of the introduction, walking out and seeing millions of stars in the light. Well, it's like, oh man, look at all those stars. Well, cool, the stars make the light. And he kind of reverses it and goes, well, without the light, there would be no stars, which is true, because you wouldn't be able to see them.
Right.
And he kind of expands upon light and different things of aspects of life, but it's using those different truths. Okay, this is a light I want to project. This is one that I don't, because you're not ready for it, in a sense.
Yeah.
You know, and that's like with your therapist saying, like, if you were allowing time, and some of the things like you explained before previously on our podcast, like where you weren't ready to be in that position. So he was not ready to shine that light onto you to say, hey, we can go to here.
Yeah.
It's like, this is what you need to see right now, and this is all. And I think that's kind of a good way of looking at it. Like, if you take a flashlight in the pitch of, you know, dead of night, everything that light sees, that's all you need to see and focus on right now. Everything else outside that, you know, those ray of light, that's not the main focus of where attention needs to be. So then this gets all lined up, then we can move the light over to here. Yeah. We can go to the next thing. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a kind of a way to look at it.
But, you know, coming from somebody who's in the thick of it, in the thralls of changes and, you know, over the past few years, and it comes in ebbs and flows. You know, I'm on top of a wave right now. So what is really difficult coming from my perspective, maybe not yours, certainly not at this point, maybe, or whatever, but when you feel a certain way, and it's love, it's light, it's compassion, it's empathy, it's all those things, and you're able to start removing the fragments of trauma and realizing that even though it was bad, it doesn't have to shape you. You don't have to make the next movement based on the past movement. So anyway, I digress a little. Forgive me. I think that the hardest part for me is watching other people continue to act, people I love, continue to chase their tails, to get ramped up about things, to not want to talk about things, to keep closed up, build bigger walls. To watch them do that is so painful, but it takes even more strength to not react to them and to allow them their space and their own time and their own path, And I just continue to pray during meditation and out that at some point somebody says, I don't like the ways that I was given. Mm-hmm. And I mean, you know, my kids, my wife, my friends, like, I don't like the path that I'm on, so I'm actually going to do something about it. I'm not just going to wish until somebody fixes something for me. And hopefully the changes that people see, like we said earlier in the show, will be reflected by them, just like the sun and the stars and the moon, and, you know, without the one, you don't have the other. It's, you know, you do have to go your own pace. You have to let people open their eyes and realize that they don't have to hurt all the time. But the only way I really think to do that is just by being. And something, if anything, that I can remember from the Bible, from when I went to a private religious school in my youth, was, you know, Christ said they don't know what they do.
Yeah.
And without trying to sound prophetic or like Christ, most of us go through our days without really knowing what we're doing. We're just sort of doing.
I think that's when it was said right before when he was going to be crucified.
Yeah, exactly. He's being hung on the cross.
I went to Catholic private school, grade school, junior high, so I never can sit down and read the Bible, but
right, exactly.
Yeah.
So, you know, so to say that sounds completely, it could sound arrogant, pompous, prophetic, whatever you want to say. It's not. It's the honest to God's truth. It's just like when you're driving down the road and you don't realize or remember the last mile.
Yeah. You're
on autopilot. Well, for most of us, our days are autopilot. Mm-hmm. You know, even if you're an entrepreneur or you own your own business or a non-for-profit or you volunteer, you still get into the habitual stuff. You still do things based on what you did yesterday and the day before.
I attribute like the data, and there's an actual term to that, driving. I just saw it the other day. I can't remember what it's called, but you get into where people can be fully aware of everything. You your sensors are ready to roll. You know, it's not like you're dazed off. But it's the same thing with, like, I think people who do like endurance stuff or like CrossFit athletes, you just get in the zone.
Yeah.
You don't see the spectators or the surroundings of nature around you. You're just,
or you're lost in thought.
Yeah.
That's another, I mean, because maybe you're not in a zone, so to speak, knowingly. Maybe you're in a zone, a twilight zone. Maybe you're lost in thought and you don't realize you're lost in thought because you're lost in thought so often that your dreams are your living dream. And I mean, the dream we make for ourselves every day, the living dream, is now it's now becoming part of your, like, your autonomic system. Like, it's just like you blink. There
is no difference between your sleep dreaming and daydreaming.
That's right. Yeah, totally. Like, yes, you're conscious, you're aware, you have conversations, you get in the car and you drive, you do all these things. But where are you if not lost in thought when you don't recall the last mile you've driven or the last 10 minutes of the book you've read, or you were lost in thought?
Yeah, and that's another thing that's talked about in the first section of the Four Agreements as well, talking about the different verses of your dreaming in the day, which it is, you're conscious, but are you aware of what's going on? And I can say today, like working out, I completely did not know. Well, I knew I was working out because I could feel it.
Yeah.
But I did not know, because there was kettlebell swings, and I was in my one section of the garage. Not until, I guess I just must have moved just enough, maybe lost balance, and I hit the rail where the garage door would go up.
Oh, yeah.
Boom, and I was like, oh, and it like, nothing, no damage.
Yeah.
Just, the bell overhead, and I was like, step forward. So I was like, oh, yeah, I'm swinging a kettlebell here.
Yeah.
I was just in the zone, coming in from the run, and then it's just like zoned out. But
just doing your thing.
Yeah. But that's a big thing is they talk about in the book is you go through it, you're in your dream of day where you're aware, you're conscious of it, but you have no recollection of that moment to like recall. Like, you're like, oh, hey, man, how did it go? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's good. I don't know. I really don't recall.
Yeah. Or like you win a sporting event or you attain a feat that maybe you weren't expected to obtain by other people. So when they see it, they're like, how'd you do that? I don't know. It's muscle memory. It's all these things, but you get lost somewhere, and it's different than being in that metaphorical zone that somebody like a Shane McBride or, one of these, major CrossFit or Olympians or whoever, they are almost in a meditative state in the zone in that they are not aware of anything around them, any other thoughts. They are so into making this coaster that's all they can do.
Yeah.
Is think of that. It's not like, oh, and you go back, like, oh shit, how did I do those last 17 stitches? I don't even remember that. That's what we're talking about. There's a part of us that just allows us to go on doing things completely subconsciously, but seemingly fully aware.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's scary and brilliant.
The difference of your day is if you're running on autopilot to you're controlling it. And it's a hard thing to differentiate between, because you have to be very aware and intent of your entire day, which would be...
I was just going to say the aware word. I hate to bring that up, but the aware versus unaware.
Yeah, but that's the thing is, it's your day-to-day nature. Like, we are habitual creatures, and it's proven. Yep. Even like if you have pets, my family, we just got a dog, kind of getting him in his little ritual, and it's kind of like, right, you can tell when it's thrown off. It's like not big, but it's like, oh yeah, okay. Normally he would, do ABC here, but yeah, you get into your day, you wake up, you do whatever would be your first step, this, and this. Well, by the time lunch hits, can you recall what you did after immediately waking up? For some people, it'd be like, okay, well, I got up, I made my coffee, I played on my phone. Right. What did I do then after that? Oh, then I got ready for work. Like you zoned out. And I used to do that all the time when I worked over in St. Louis. I would literally just be in autopilot. Next thing you know, I'm like, oh, I'm at work. But I was aware of what was going on. Oh, you had merged lanes. Yeah, you had done everything. Yeah. But I could not recall, like, the cars I passed, like maybe if there was a new billboard or, like, yeah, man, if there were boats going down the Mississippi, like. And this is where meditation comes in to help you realize, oh, shit. Like, I was just doing something that I shouldn't be doing. I got to pay more attention, be more in the zone, be more locked in. Yeah, and that's yesterday, too, doing WIMS breathing. I've been doing that daily for a while again. Doing that, but, like, getting deep into thought and trying to focus. And within his app now, you can control how many breaths you want to take. Like, if you want to do it real quick, like, you could do 5. I think you can go to, like, 60. So you'd be really deep breathing before you do your breath hold. Right. I've been doing like 30, which is his average, and doing one the other day, and just like brain was completely distracted. And I'm like, okay, just hold and we're going to refocus. But I was sitting there and like not focusing on his words being said, where he talks about concentrating your heart rate, slowing it down, feel relaxed from your feet, neck, head. Yeah. You might feel some sensations, and then he's got like background noise and stuff that's, music and stuff playing, but to just really focus on his words, the music in the background, and that focus, well, your brain's doing this, and this. Yeah. And same thing, reading the other day, got a little distracted after reading a bit. I was like, oh, start back at the top of the page, because I do not recall anything that I just read on the page. Right, right. Yeah, there's a lot to that, being able to admit to yourself, not only do I need to turn a page back and start over, but maybe I need to turn a few pages back metaphorically and start reviewing my life and how I've behaved and how I've interacted with people and how I've been selfish, how I've done whatever it is that you feel like you may have done or you do that's to your ailment or someone else's. How do you get a hold of that? How do you rein that in? How do you admit to yourself that, man, I'm being a shithead and I got to stop, as opposed to, no, I'm right, you're wrong. Like, and that happens every day. People think I'm justified because you hurt me. Well, not always. Sometimes your feelings may need to be hurt in a constructive manner so that you do wake up and go, oh shit, I'm hurting other people. But all too often that doesn't happen. All too often it's just a defensive wall goes up and it says, you can't tell me anything bad. Yeah. You can't say anything to me that could hurt me. Well, really? I mean, really, you're that fragile of a person? And this is metaphorical. This is hyperbole. This is just me rambling, so please hang on. But if you really constantly
if you think back to all of your constant struggles and arguments, and how many times did you ever relinquish that control of being right? How often have you relinquished any notion that being right is being good or being better? It's just fucking different. It's just a different way of viewing everything. And when you got here and when I got here and we decided to do this show today, you may have had expectations. I may have had expectations. We may have met both expectations, but had completely different expectations coming in, but met both and had no idea. It's the same way. It's the same thing.
It's like we talked about last time and many times, going in with no expectations of things.
Yeah.
But I attribute, like what you were just saying previously, to when you see this and you're having these arguments, or this is going on. I attribute it to it looking at like studying.
Yeah.
Most of the world, we cannot just read something once, let's go take the test. There are those out there.
Yep.
But that's not a common thing. So if you attribute your betterment, your focus, your awareness, it has to be like studying. It's a constant thing that has to be worked on. When you're doing it, as you were referring to the coaster, okay, we're going to do our stitching going around.
Right. Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, crap, that's done. Okay. Maybe I need to pay attention a little bit more. So
I could have messed up.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I can see maybe right there I didn't, whatever.
Yeah.
It's constantly studying yourself, figuring out what do I need to work on, okay? This seems to keep happening. I need to be more aware of my reaction to this.
Look for cycles or repetition, right?
Okay, I realize when so-and-so does this, it kind of gets me here, but I just need to, okay. I get really floored when I'm driving and someone does this. Okay, what's the big, it's kind of going down this list and studying yourself of what do I need to do? What am I continuing to do good? So I will continue to do that.
Yeah.
What am I not? So then that's okay. Let's put a little bit more focus. And it just hit me when you were talking all that. It was like, just attribute like studying. It's what is good? I will continue to do. What am I not doing? What am I doing bad? Okay. That's where my real focus needs to go.
Yeah.
And that's to sit back in your day to day and over time and really sit and self-analyze yourself.
Yeah.
That is a very hard thing to do.
Especially every day, to remember to do it.
Yeah. And I think a big simple thing is you could just in your phone, notebook, journal, what did I do good today?
Yeah.
Write your goods, but what did I not do good today that I can improve upon?
Yeah.
And that's a thing, and I can't remember. There's an actual company that makes these journals and stuff like that. But this one workout program I follow along with doing like the 557 stuff, they each week will pick a phrase like leadership, different things, and they'll have spots in the workout like, what did I do good in my week or in my life that I can talk about leadership? And they'll, and they'll have things in the workouts. What can I do? So they're not only physically working you, they're trying to mentally put this picture into your head, being tougher.
Yeah, so like a framework.
Yeah. So I think these are former like military guys. It's called Armor Up. It's a pretty cool thing. And like the workouts are printed on like the body armor shape.
Nice.
So then it goes down. And then they do like tributes each week to fallen military first responders and stuff. But they always pick keywords each week. Like, and Shane's been doing this too with 557. Like, what's your why today? Or like, what's your why this week?
Yeah.
And like each week kind of putting little things in the notes as you read, like, what's the warm up to, okay, well, why are you doing this?
Yeah, man.
And hopefully it spins and you go, okay, well, here's my why I'm doing my fitness. Well, what is my why to what I'm doing these other things?
Yeah.
And I think that's a good way is you study yourself, break yourself down. Do that at the end of the day. Do it for a couple weeks. What did I do good today?
Yeah.
What do I need to improve upon? I think that's the simplest way to start analyzing yourself, because most people, and I'll admit this, in the happening of day to day, you're not going to catch it and go, I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, not until you've practiced a long time.
Yeah, and not unless guilt hits you for something you've done or whatever. You're not going to do anything. You're just going to be like,
right.
Yeah, you got to sit and reflect and recall. That's when that study and self-analyzation
I think begins. The sooner that we can all realize that we are all students of this game, we are not professionals at this game, none of us. no matter what your profession is, as far as being a human goes, it's too profound to be able to be a professional. It's unobtainable. We do not know. There are too many unknowns, right? So it's homework. Like you said, it's always constantly studying, constantly improving. Well, get this. Check this out. I'm at my buddy's house, sitting out behind his house one morning down near Austin, and having a cup of coffee. Got done meditating, whatever, going to read. This particular book I'm reading and following the audio along at the same time. Even given that two of my senses are supposedly completely taken up, I start getting lost in thought. And I told myself, I stopped completely, and I said, okay, if I'm reading this and I'm listening to this and I'm still thinking of other things, I need to go do something with my energy.
Yeah.
I obviously have some energy I need to work with here because it's too much. It's not allowing me to sit still. So I didn't get angry about it. I didn't get mad. I'm going to go for a walk. Get on my damn tennis shoes, let's listen to some music, and just go for a walk and get lost.
Yeah.
And I did, and it was perfect. I came back and I finished my book. But I had to be honest with myself. Hey, this isn't the time for homework. Mm-hmm. We are always learning, but I have to be honest with myself. I've got a lot of energy that I need to get out. Who knows why? It was early in the morning, so who knows? But I had to be honest with myself. I could have gotten angry. I could have been like, fuck, I can't do this today. And then that leads to something else. But instead, I cleared my head, got some energy, burned some calories, and was probably a better me for the rest of the day.
Yeah, you got to find those right times of when things is. It's no different like science has proven. Each individual has a prime time of when they are physically at their best to work out, when they will have the better performance. Some people are early mornings, mid-morning, late morning, whatever time of day. We are all that way. You might be a better reader, listener at this time frame of the day.
Yeah.
For most people, I would say they're probably not the best listeners when it's, early, mid-afternoon, you've ate, and it's later. You've been up since whatever hour, you're probably not as focused right then. That may not be the best time. You got to go in with that intent of, okay, I'm going to read, listen, okay, brain definitely is not picking up these wavelengths, and I got it like this morning, warming up, was going to do a long warm-up. And I was like, I'm going to listen to this podcast. Started rowing, and I'm like, nope, not even focusing. I go, all right, put it on something else that I can just tune out.
Right.
Or music or whatever.
Right.
But I started this podcast, like 2 minutes in, I'm like, I have no idea what all I got was the first 1 minute introduction, and then my brain went everywhere. So I was like, okay, I'm not
right. And if we can put that into like a financial thing or a monetary way to look at this, because we all understand money, right? You go somewhere to buy a car. Yeah. You take your money and you're counting the bills out. And as you're counting the bills out, you're doing the work, right? You're focused, you're reading, you're buying the car, you're putting the money out. As you're putting the money out, they're fucking taking parts off of the car. I got to get this money counted out. So I need 4 fucking tires to get out of here. And they've already got 2 of them off, and they're getting ready to remove the steering wheel. It's the same goddamn thing.
Yeah.
It's the same fucking thing. You have to be trained and disciplined. You show up, you got the money counted, it's done, it's there, you got your car, you're gone. You showed up, you read the book, you did your homework, you're gone. But if you show up and you're paying your dues, but you're not getting anything out of it, be honest with yourself. Step away for a minute, go do something else. But for fuck's sake, take it easy on yourself.
Yeah.
It's all good, homie. It's all fucking good. Everyone's golden if you don't read that today. It wasn't meant to be. Go do something else. Maybe you stepped away, you went to do something else, and you helped a fucking turtle cross the road. Mm-hmm. And you wouldn't have had you still been dwelling on something. So all I'm saying is take it easy on yourself when you are trying to become a professional at this game we call life. Take it easy. Be okay with messing up. Remember all of the pain and the suffering that you caused yourself for dwelling on times you messed up, and look where it got you.
Yeah, we look at it as, think of how many times you've messed up, but look how many times you've done right.
You don't keep track.
Yeah, no one does.
You don't keep track.
Another way to flip it is look at professional athletes. These are the best of the best. They don't have their A game every day.
Nah.
You're like, man, so-and-so's just having a slump.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden they're out.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with our lives. We just have to be a little bit more forgiving to ourselves that we're going to have some down times where we need to do a little bit more focusing, forgiving of ourselves, analyzing that I'm doing this, this, and this, and working on that. And then we will have times, like you said, top of the wave, man, riding it. This is glorious. Life is good, not having to do a lot of things.
Yeah.
And then we'll come crashing off that wave, or, we'll just be in chill water. And it's like, okay, I need to do something, to get back up.
Yeah. If there's another good line there, I don't know if this is made up, but I just thought of it. If you're in murky or rough waters, as in everything's tumultuous around you, you cannot reflect in that water. You cannot see your image. You can't do anything. That's why we talk so much about meditation or long walks, getting out in the woods, resetting, grounding yourself, putting your feet in the grass, whatever it might be. Because until you get rid of some of that crazy energy or you're able to focus your mind, it's just going to be difficult, and you're going to continue to get frustrated, and you're going to get mad at yourself, and you're going to get back in that super loop of, messing up and thinking you're okay, but then messing up, and now you're dealing with trauma from messing up 1,000 times, not just the one time, because you're still carrying all of that baggage from the first time you fucking messed up when you were 5 that you can remember.
Yeah.
When you pissed the bed in front of, when you had a buddy staying over, or whatever it might have been, whatever's caused you trauma that you've held on to, until you can calm your mind down to realize, hey, I'm lost in thought, or, hey, I don't, I'm honestly going to tell you that you've been talking to me for 3 minutes and I don't fucking remember a thing you said. Yeah. Like you legit have to be that fucking honest with yourself. And if we go back to that good book again, not the Bible, but the 4 Agreements, it'll tell you that your word's got to be impeccable, right? Well, your word can't be impeccable if you're not doing your best. You can't do your best if you're making assumptions. You can't make assumptions if it's a big circle. But I think it's one and the same. And I think that, if you start small, you sit with yourself and your thoughts for 5 minutes a day and see if you can focus on your breath for 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's
fuck. It's hard.
There's another one.
So hard.
That's something we don't have to do. Obviously, our brain automatically breathes for us. Our heart beats, because if we did, there wouldn't be many humans existing, because you'd have to have an impeccable mind to do that kind of focus to, I got to breathe, I got to do this, and this.
Right.
These things that are set in auto, thankfully, but every single person, no matter the age, should have moments of their day when they do have time to themselves. And that's easier said than done, depending on your situation. But, even if I'm like, hey, I got to run somewhere, that 5-minute drive to the gas station or the store, like, use it wisely. Maybe not turn on the radio, a podcast, music, whatever. Sit there and just have a focus moment. Like, even in the store, you can too, because you may not talk to anybody. You might just go up and down the aisles.
Right.
Take that time each day to yourself, because you probably will become a better person for it. Whereas most people, when you don't get that, you're always on top of one another. At some point, you will blow.
I think a little trick or a little hack there, at least something that worked for me for a while when I was not making the time to meditate, or I just wasn't allowing, I wasn't figuring out my day. I wasn't, I was getting lost in thought for hours. I'd be on the phone. I'd be doing things that I could have done the day before, or the next day, whatever. Pardon me. I think that that when, excuse me, I'm getting a little ahead of myself. When, okay, I completely just lost where I was.
That's all right.
I mean, it's okay. It's the first time this has happened in a long time. I'm not going to get mad at myself about it. What were we just talking about? Now I'm going to take it real easy on myself here.
We were talking about I just lost it too.
See how it happens?
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm just gonna. You'll have to rewind.
We're talking about having that time to your day by yourself. That 5 minutes and stuff like that.
Thank you very much.
You were talking about.
Thank you. There were times when. Thank you so much. There were times when I wasn't finding or making that time, making excuses. So I said, well, what if I just laid in bed by myself, with my own thoughts. If you like using an app or like music when you meditate, put your headphones in. But what I did was I set my snooze for 5 minutes. So as soon as I woke up, and there's nobody else in the bed with me, right? Lindsay's already gotten up, went to work. I hit the snooze button. I lay my head back down. I close my eyes. I don't go back to sleep, but I do my best to not think about anything that I have to do that day. I do my best to just focus on my breathing. And man, there were times where I get 4 breaths in and be like, squirrel. And there were other times where it was like, okay, I get through half of this, squirrel. And there were times where I could get through the whole thing. Not without much practice, not without a lot of homework, right? Excuse me. So, I guess sort of I digress a little bit, but if you can sort of trick yourself into being alone with your thoughts before your day even starts, well, you're a step ahead of the game. Now, you didn't even have to go sit down for 10 minutes somewhere or 5 minutes. You just kept your head on the pillow, and that's a good start. Yeah. And then when you get up from doing something for 5 measly minutes, right, hundreds of seconds, you can feel better about yourself because you just did something that most people aren't going to do. You gave yourself some time. You allowed yourself some time before you took the red pill of the day or whatever pill it is you take every morning, before you brushed your teeth, before you thought, oh, shit, I got to get out the door. Before anything, you take some time for yourself. It's no different than, again, financial. You put a little money in your savings account. Yeah. Then you go to the movies. Then you go buy the new Jordans. Then you do whatever you're going to do. But pay yourself first. Do your work first. And then go. So that's a little hack. That's a little trick you can use if maybe you haven't ever been able to get yourself into meditation. Maybe you were in. Maybe you fell out. Taking it all back, though, way back, I know, I'm sorry, is getting your mind to calm down, getting yourself to that place where you can say, all right, now mid-conversation when somebody says something that normally would have made the hair on the back of my neck stand up or my butterflies go into my stomach, now it's just another thing, and I just process it no differently than if you said, hey, Jeremy, have you heard that a new movie's coming out? Yeah. No, I have not, Jeff. Why don't you tell me about that? It's no different. It's no longer fight or flight, No,
that's a really good thing to do. Like, when I do my breathe work daily and meditational stuff, just speaking of personal, experience, I'm very relaxed, euphoric. Like if I do my breathe work with full intent, no matter the time of day, I could literally probably, if I, went and laid down, which usually is how I meditate, is lay on the floor. Uh-huh. But if I went and laid in bed, I probably would be out. But I just get so relaxed and just so, I would call it a natural high.
Yeah, it is.
You are just so euphoric and relaxed that it's so good. Like today I did it after working out, got up, and I'm like, man, I'm just chill. And it's a good way I do it I get my heart rate already down, and I'll just lay down on the garage floor and just go through my breathing and stuff just to relax. And I'll do it other times throughout the day, but it's just like, man, after my workout, when your adrenaline, your endorphins, everything's been fired, you are in that fight mode, because essentially that's what you're doing when you're working out. You're creating a simulated fight mode. Yeah. It's a great way to bring you back down to that midpoint, that homeostasis. Then getting done, I'm just like, oh, man, I feel relaxed, feel good. Yeah. And I think that's a good way, too, that then I can, like, stretch out, kind of do another. It's just another way of cooling down. But when you really focus and hone in on that breathing and that meditational stuff, even if you just do it for a few minutes to get a grasp of it, to get used to it, you'll really find, like Jeremy was saying, like, especially if you start off in the beginning of the day, which is when I used to do it. Yeah. It sets a tone for a much bigger, just successful day, that when something does happen, someone does this or that, or this doesn't go the right way, you don't jump ship and go awry and just start going nuts because you're going to blow up. Like, oh, I can't believe this. It's just kind of like, okay.
You force yourself to start the day how you want to live your day and how you want to finish your day. Mm-hmm. You no longer go, oh, thank God the day's over. I get to meditate. No. Let's do it. Let's set our tone. Let's set our intent for the day. Just like if you go into a yoga studio, a lot of times they'll talk about setting intent, why you're here, what you're doing. Set your intent for the day. Set your tone for the day. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 30, I don't care what it is. Do something. and let that set your tempo. So at the end of the day, you go, it's a pretty good day. It was all right. I mean, yeah, I had some conflict. I dealt with it. Somebody pissed me off. I dealt with it. I absolutely loved coming home. I loved it when my wife got home or my spouse or whatever. Yeah, man, just take charge.
Yeah.
Take control. Like, how bad do you want it, man? How bad do you want, and I don't mean how much do you want other people to like you. I mean, how much do you want the world to have no choice but to like you? There's no other choice. I'm not giving you a reason. I've already given myself enough reasons to hate myself. I've given you enough ammunition to not like me. I've given the world every bit of ammo they need to not like me.
I think we're all guilty of doing exactly that. You're giving enough ammunition to the world or others to create a stigma, hate, or bias about you. It's hard enough in life already for most of us. You don't need to put that burden further out there.
Yeah, squash it.
Yeah, squash it. Create the version of yourself that you truly see yourself to be, and it will take time. It's not a cool, I'm done.
Yeah.
Work on creating that type of person so that, as Jeremy just said, you're not giving fuel to the person who's like, oh man, Jeremy, he's an asshole. And Jeremy's a phenomenal guy. Oh yeah, great. Blah, blah, blah. That you give ammo of positivity and energy, and it's a hard thing to do. Like we said, when you got to sit and kind of do that study checklist of yourself. Oh, I blew up here, did this. Okay, I really need to work on this. I need to work on this. It's just more focus of things that you need to dial in and hone in on to eventually get there.
And it just begets itself. It's fuel for the fire. It's the more good you do, the more you stop yourself in the middle of doing bad to do good, whether it's a decision, whether it's just a random thought, whether it's you get lost in thought, whatever it is. Let yourself deal with whatever it is you're dealing with in the moment. Get past it, move on, done. If it's a random thought that knocked you off track, cool. If it was a phone call, always be able to get back on track. Always be able to find center. I'm sure it's much like a good captain back in the day. Always find north. Always know where to go to get away from the storm. Always, get out of that storm. The rough water, you can't reflect. You cannot make yourself a better person if you're still bitching about what fucking Bob did at the office today at 1:00.
Yeah, and that's another thing that the book talks about. We as humans are horrible to each other. And I'll say it in this sense.
Yeah.
You just said it that way. So something maybe that happened like years ago, we will always punish ourselves for it. If not, someone will always dwell and bring it up. We are the only creatures that do this.
Yep.
In the animal kingdom, something happened, brawl, it's pretty much squashed. Animals don't sit there and have conversations. I doubt it.
Yeah, I've heard this before. Yeah, totally.
We are the worst when it comes to this, that we are never forgiving or letting go to each other or ourselves. That something that you could have done 10 years ago, you constantly, and then oh man. The book goes on about that over and over, that we will sadly for our lives be in a constant punishment for something that happened in the past that either you yourself can't let go or someone cannot let go.
Right.
That it'll always get drawn up and up and up and up. And that's something that they talk about in the book, that we need to do a better job of learning to let go and put those things in the past, use it as a teachable moment.
Yeah.
And go on from there. Not to dwell on it, to harbor bad feelings, this and that. But it's so many things that, we can honestly say as a human race that we definitely do not do these things. You can hear people do this every day, that so-and-so in this time.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Okay.
It's always somebody else.
We need to get past, move on from those types of things. And I know the book goes deeper into it too, but it starts off in the beginning too. That's a huge chunk of us as humans, that we're these wise creatures that we are so harsh on ourselves because we do not let go, we do not forgive, but things just keep circling back and not in a good way.
Yeah, and then, you know, just imagine the power that you would feel if you know, you had conflict with somebody and they were really at you and you just stopped and you said, you know what? I'm really sorry, man. Like, you're right, I fucked up. That's empowering.
Even if you did apologize, though, that's the thing. Like, you can apologize for these things. Mm-hmm. It does not need to be drum up again.
No.
But
right.
This is what we do as humans. It's fuel when you're enraged. You will go back to something that you know, pull that ammo, stock it, boom, and you throw it out there.
And that's something my wife and I have been talking a lot about lately is how many times do you have to bring something up before you realize it's no longer kindling? It's no longer good. It's toxic. You have to at some point let go.
It's no longer relevant to the scenario because you've used it so many times that
I'm going to bring up
it's lost meaning.
A pop culture reference. And yes, it has lost meaning. It's like the boy that cried wolf.
Yeah, there you go.
But much like this pop culture phenomenon, this show that I watched called Ted Lasso on Apple TV. It's got Jason Sudeikis in it.
Soccer coach.
It's a fantastic show. It's one of the few shows that I've ever watched that I left watching it feeling like I may have been a little better than when I started.
He's a phenomenal character, and if you've never seen it, his attitude and outlook is insane.
It's impeccable. It's like he lives by the 4 agreements. But what I was going to say about it before I forget again is he says in there, he says to one of his footballers, he says, "What's the happiest animal in the world?" He says, "Coach, I don't know." And he says, "It's a goldfish." He said, "A goldfish. You know why it's the happiest?" He said, "No, Coach." He said, "Because it's got a 10-second memory. It's the happiest." He said, "Be a goldfish." And the guy was like, "Oh, shit. I get it. It's the same thing. You know, Forgive yourself. Move forward. This shit's hard. This is not easy. If it was easy, fuck, man, there'd be no conflict. There'd be no wars. There'd be nothing. Everybody'd be too happy. If everybody would realize that, Jeff, you're a reflection of me and I'm a reflection of you. And just like when you leave, the person you see walking their dog down the street is a reflection of you. And it's the same exact thing. And until you can grasp that kind of compassion, you're never going to be as happy as what you could be when you just realize that, holy shit, there's no God, there's no devil. I am God. I am the devil. I have that all in me. I am capable of all things good and bad.
Yeah.
I am the magic. And I am going to make sure that I don't waste my magic because I don't know if I really get to come back and do this again.
Yeah.
And I really enjoy doing it.
That's a good way of putting it, exactly, are you putting out that magic, that energy, then to that, like the random person walking the dog, what do you have against them? I don't like that dog, huh? Why?
Those stupid shoes.
I hate that color of the dog. Okay, cool.
Right.
I don't like that breed. Like, whatever.
But there's a big shift when you drive by and you go, fucking get it, girl. Like, get it. Like, or whatever, whoever, like when you notice and you applaud. The first thing you think of is to applaud,
I
Jeff.
think like that when, a couple people come to the stop sign, 4-way stop or something at the same time. It's like, oh, no, go ahead. And they're like, oh, okay, well, thank you. You feel good. Or like the other day I had someone wave me on. I was clearly, they're after them. I'm like, oh, and they're like, no. I'm like, oh, thank you. And I'm like, and it's like, I was going to pick up my daughter from my parents. I'm like, man, that was very nice, that lady.
Right.
And I'm just like, oh, happy-go-lucky for that. And it was just a small,
it's
just
fuel.
Let me go.
It's fuel.
In front of you, which wouldn't have mattered either way. If you went, it didn't really change the course of my day, but those small little gestures, as we said, kind of pay it forward as before. Give out that magic or that energy, know.
Don't waste it.
Yeah.
Because there's too much good that you can do with your words or with your actions for you to do anything otherwise. There's way too much good to be done. We have way too many things that need to be fixed in this world. We have way too many children that need to have their hand held and they're talked to and just somebody to be there. But probably even more fucking adults that need somebody to sit there and put their hand on their shoulder and tell them, fuck, buddy, it's not your fault, man. We all did it. We did it to ourselves.
Sadly, more adults need it currently than children because children haven't got to that mental state of...
Well, they're still pliable. You're right. They bounce back. They haven't formed quite the habits that we have, right? And, this shit's been going on for decades. Mm-hmm. But kids, don't forget. And, you know, I've experienced with my children, you know, I've not been a great father. I've really been the typical chasing the car, chasing the house, chasing the dollar for, you know, I did that for a long time. So much so that I traveled a lot. We talked about that. I wasn't around and I felt remorseful about that. I've dealt with that. But now it's like, okay, the excuses are over. There's nothing that's going to get in my way of being a father to my children the way that I want to father my children. Nothing. Not even them and their teenage brains. They are not going to stop me from being the best me I can be.
Yeah.
So that means when they act like a teenager, I have to keep that word. I have to be able to say, oh my God, I'm doing the best I can right now. I want to fucking strangle these kids because they're teenagers and who knows where they go, but they're somewhere. They're not here. They don't make sense half the time.
Yeah.
But they're mine. And I know that at the end of the day, they're going to come back and they're fine. They're just putting their feelers out there. They're tasting things. They're putting their toe in the water. They're trying to figure life out. And if I keep getting in the way of that, they're not going to grow. They're not going to evolve.
Nothing's going to change with it now.
Yeah. So instead, you fucking have to make changes yourself. You have, whether you're the child or the parent or the grandparent or whoever, if you think that somebody else is acting a certain way, it's probably because you're familiar with it. You've done it. You know how to do it. You continue to do it. You're just seeing that reflection in yourself.
Yeah, we've all lived out these same scenarios and same situations, just little tweaks. They're just a hair different in each individual.
Yeah.
But you can watch something unfold and go, oh, I remember when I did that. Yep. You can see it all happen.
If you want a lesson in humanity, go sit down at any customer service desk and just watch.
Yeah.
Because you'll see people act like, you'll say to yourself, how could you act like that in private, much less in public? Mm-hmm. You know, and you'll start to really feel this sense of just sadness for people that, you know, that's their life. They're going to go and get in their car and they're going to take off. They're going to be pissed off.
Yeah.
And then they're going to get to the fast food restaurant. They're going to get their big fucking Diet Coke and their big cheeseburger, and they're going to be pissed off because they fucking put too many pickles on it. And then they're going to go and they're going to get in traffic. They're going to be angry because they spilled their big fucking Coke. Never to stop and think, if you just chill the fuck out for a minute, life would be grand.
Yeah, slow it down just a moment.
Right? You just fucking chill out.
Yeah.
Take onus. Take responsibility for what you're doing. Because if you're not responsible for what you're doing, why do you keep holding everybody else responsible for what they're fucking doing?
It's true. Can't drag everybody with you.
Right? It's just fucking pump them up, people. Stop pushing them down.
I agree.
Word. Cool, man. Well, that was fun. A little bit off the chest. That's a good episode, I think.
I think so, too.
Cool. I think we'll end it right there.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, we got plenty more. We'll keep on going next week, guys. Thank you for being here. Jeff,
Always.
Thank you again.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Yep. As always, thank you guys for lending us your ears, your eyes, and go be good to somebody. You know, like we said, I know I rant. Sometimes I get lost in it. But the bottom line is, if you really want change in your world or the world, you have to be the precipitator. You have to be the forecaster, and you have to be right. You have to always know that whether you are right or wrong,
yep,
you were right, and that you made the decision, you stuck with it, you owned it. If you fucked up, you owned it, and if it was great, God damn it, you told yourself you did a great job.
There you go.
Cool. Love you guys. We'll see you next time. Peace.